2,000 years ago, in the small Judean town of Bethlehem, an event occurred that would forever change human history. The birth of Jesus Christ has been celebrated, depicted, and debated across centuries. But what actually happened during those pivotal days? Tonight, we're conducting a historical investigation, comparing the biblical accounts with archaeological evidence to separate fact from tradition. The story we know comes primarily from two sources, the Gospels of Matthew and Luke. But here's the first surprise. These two accounts tell remarkably different stories. Matthew focuses on the arrival of wise men, King Herod's massacre, and the family's flight to Egypt. Luke emphasizes the census, the journey to Bethlehem, the shepherds, and the manger scene. When we examine these accounts like historical detectives, fascinating questions emerge. Let's start with the most basic question. When was Jesus actually born? Despite centuries of Christmas celebrations on December 25th, the Bible never gives us a date. This December date was chosen by the Roman Emperor Constantine in the 4th century AD, deliberately coinciding with the pagan festival of Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun. It was a political decision designed to merge Christian and pagan traditions, not a historical determination. The Gospel of Luke provides our best clue about timing. It mentions shepherds, keeping watch over their flocks by night. Any farmer will tell you that shepherds don't stay in fields with their flocks during winter months. They bring animals into shelter during the rainy season from November through March. This detail strongly suggests Jesus was born during the warmer months, possibly spring or summer. Luke also mentions that Jesus was born during a census ordered by Caesar Augustus when Quirinius was governor of Syria. Here's where archaeology becomes our time machine. Roman records, confirmed by multiple historical sources, show that Publius Sulpicius Quirinius did indeed conduct a census, but not until 6 AD when he became governor. This creates a puzzling chronological problem. Matthew's Gospel places Jesus' birth during the reign of King Herod the Great, who historical records confirm died in 4 BC. If both accounts are accurate, Jesus would have been born sometime between 6 and 4 BC, a paradox that has challenged historians for centuries. The most likely explanation is that Luke was referring to an earlier census conducted while Quirinius held a different position, or that the Gospel writers were more concerned with theological meaning than precise chronological accuracy. Archaeological excavations in Bethlehem have provided remarkable insights into what the town actually looked like during Jesus' birth. Modern Bethlehem sits atop layers of ancient settlements, and careful excavation has revealed a small village of perhaps 1,000 inhabitants during the 1st century. This wasn't the bustling city of later imagination. It was a modest agricultural community known primarily for sheep and grain production. The traditional nativity scene depicts Jesus born in a wooden stable with hay, but archaeological evidence suggests a very different setting. Palestinian homes in this period were typically built with stone, not wood, which was scarce and expensive. Most families lived in single-room houses with animals sheltered in a lower level during winter months. When Luke writes that there was no room in the Cataluma, he's likely not describing a commercial inn, but rather the upper guest room of a family home. The word Cataluma appears elsewhere in Luke's Gospel, referring to the upper room where Jesus shared the Last Supper. If Joseph's extended family in Bethlehem couldn't accommodate them in the guest quarters, Mary and Joseph would have stayed in the main living area, with animals sheltering nearby. The manger, mentioned in Luke, was probably a stone feeding trough carved into the floor, a common feature in Palestinian homes where animals and humans shared space. Recent excavations at the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem have revealed 1st century cave dwellings beneath the traditional site, supporting the possibility that Jesus was born in a cave-like lower level of a house. Matthew's account introduces the mysterious Magi from the East, often called the 3 wise men in popular tradition. But Matthew never specifies how many visitors came, only that they brought 3 types of gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. These weren't necessarily kings, as later legends claimed, but likely Zoroastrian priests or court astrologers from Mesopotamia or Persia. Archaeological discoveries have confirmed that such learned men regularly traveled throughout the ancient world, studying astronomical phenomena and serving as advisors to rulers. Clay tablets from Babylon document detailed astronomical observations from this period, including records of unusual celestial events that might have been interpreted as portending the birth of a great king. The star that guided the Magi has intrigued astronomers for centuries. Modern calculations show that between 7 and 2 BC, Jupiter and Saturn came into conjunction 3 times, an extremely rare occurrence that would have appeared as an unusually bright star to ancient observers. Chinese astronomical records from this period also document a nova or comet visible for over 70 days. While we can't definitively identify the Star of Bethlehem, the astronomical evidence confirms that unusual celestial events occurred during the likely time frame of Jesus' birth. Matthew's account of King Herod's massacre of infant boys, the slaughter of the innocents, isn't corroborated by other historical sources, leading some scholars to question its historicity. However, this silence doesn't necessarily disprove the event. Bethlehem was a small village, and the number of male infants under 2 years old would have been perhaps 20 to 30 children. A tragedy for the families involved, but statistically insignificant in the broader Roman Empire. Moreover, the massacre fits perfectly with what we know about Herod's psychological profile from other historical sources. Josephus documents that Herod executed his own wife Mariamne, 3 of his sons, his brother-in-law, his mother-in-law, and countless others he perceived as threats. The Roman Emperor Augustus reportedly said it was safer to be Herod's pig than his son. A paranoid ruler who killed his own children wouldn't hesitate to eliminate potential rivals in a small village. The flight to Egypt, described in Matthew, also aligns with historical realities. Egypt housed a large Jewish population, particularly in Alexandria, where nearly 1 million Jews lived during this period. Refugees from Palestine regularly fled to Egypt during times of political upheaval. Archaeological evidence from this period shows extensive Jewish communities throughout Egypt that could have provided shelter for a refugee family. Luke's census presents both historical challenges and confirmations. While the specific census of Quirinius creates chronological problems, Roman census practices are well documented through archaeological discoveries. Papyrus documents from Egypt describe census procedures requiring people to return to their ancestral homes for registration, exactly what Luke describes happening to Joseph and Mary. A papyrus from 104 AD, discovered in Egypt, contains a census proclamation stating, "Since registration by household is imminent, it is necessary to notify all who for any reason whatsoever are absent from their districts to return to their own homes." This confirms that Luke's description of census procedures, while possibly mistaken about timing, accurately reflects Roman administrative practices. Archaeological excavations throughout Palestine have revealed the harsh realities of life under Roman occupation during Jesus' birth period. Military installations, taxation records, and evidence of violent suppression paint a picture of a population under enormous pressure. The Jewish historian Josephus documents multiple revolts and massacres during this period, creating exactly the kind of unstable environment that the Nativity accounts describe. Recent excavations in Nazareth have provided insights into Jesus' family background. The discovery of first-century houses carved into hillsides reveals a community of modest but not destitute families. Stone artifacts suggest local crafts production, confirming that Joseph's description as a tekton, craftsman, reflects genuine historical occupations in the region. The archaeological evidence also illuminates the broader cultural context of Jesus' birth. First-century Palestine was a crossroads of civilizations, with Greek, Roman, Jewish, and Eastern influences all present. This multicultural environment explains details in the Nativity accounts: wise men from the East, Roman census procedures, Jewish religious practices, and Hellenistic cultural elements, all coexisting in the same narrative. Perhaps most significantly, archaeological evidence confirms that Bethlehem, Nazareth, and the broader region described in the Nativity accounts existed as real places with the characteristics described in the Gospels. Excavations have revealed the agricultural economy, housing styles, transportation routes, and social structures that form the backdrop of the biblical narratives. The cumulative archaeological evidence doesn't prove every detail of the Nativity stories, but it consistently supports their historical plausibility. The places existed, the cultural practices described were real, the political situations align with known history, and the social dynamics reflect archaeological findings about first-century Palestine. What emerges from this investigation is a picture more complex and fascinating than traditional Christmas pageants suggest. The birth of Jesus occurred in a real place during a specific historical moment involving actual people facing genuine political and economic pressures. The archaeological evidence grounds the Nativity story in concrete historical reality, even as theological questions about its significance remain matters of faith. The Gospel writers weren't writing modern historical accounts with precise chronological accuracy. They were theological narratives designed to communicate the significance of Jesus' birth for early Christian communities. But their accounts consistently reflect accurate knowledge of first-century Palestinian life, suggesting they were based on genuine historical memories preserved by people who lived through these events. Perhaps the most remarkable finding is how the archaeological evidence enhances rather than diminishes the Nativity story. The real Bethlehem, a small, struggling village under Roman occupation, provides a more powerful backdrop for the Christian message than any idealized setting. The historical Mary and Joseph, young people facing uncertain circumstances in a politically volatile world, speak more powerfully to modern audiences than sanitized religious imagery. The birth of Jesus, viewed through the lens of archaeological evidence, emerges as an event deeply rooted in historical reality. While questions remain about specific details, the overall narrative reflects genuine knowledge of first-century Palestine and remains historically plausible. The theological significance of Christmas may be a matter of faith, but its historical foundations rest on solid archaeological ground. In the end, the investigation reveals that the story of Jesus' birth, far from being mere legend, represents a remarkable convergence of historical circumstances, cultural traditions, and human experiences that continue to resonate across centuries. The archaeological evidence doesn't answer every question about the Nativity, but it confirms that these events unfolded in the real world, among real people, in ways that the Gospel writers accurately remembered and recorded for future generations.